Hi guys, welcome to the next video of Node Express MongoDB 2023. In this video, we are going to talk about very important topic called middlewares. Middlewares are very important if you are building any kind of Node Express application. You will require to understand and write middlewares for your APIs or for any kind of applications. I have not built a project using Node Express without a middleware as of now. All right. So currently we are already using a middleware using the app.use keyword, and this is the middleware express.json. It means that apply this use case or the middleware before all the API calls are triggered. Means that convert all the request object request.body object into the JSON so we can utilize it just like we are getting the body object. You can see over here. Where is that? Yeah, here, request.body. Okay, and here as well. So we are applying this middleware to all the API calls we have triggered. We can create our own middleware. This is very important, and you need to understand how we can add the middleware. First of all, let's try to use and create and use a new middleware. So I'm going to write app.use, and I'm going to write a function inside it, and I can create a separate function as well as I can directly write inside it. So first of all, let's directly write inside it, and it has a third param as well, which is called next. And this is very important if we want to keep on executing the middleware and then move to the API call. So middleware is actually its name suggests that it is the middleware between the client and the server. If the client is accessing this API, let's say the get nodes or even all the APIs, then we are asking that apply these middlewares, apply the logic, perform anything that we want, and then move to the actual API. Okay, so in this case, let's say that we want to optimize this request object. Request can have request.params, request.query, request.body, and other operators as well, and we can optimize this. So let's say that we want to add a new prop to it, request dot, let's say that current time. Okay, so and then I can write date to ISO string. So I have updated this request object before moving to the get nodes. Okay, and now I need to call the next means that I'm done, middleware is done, now move to the actual API. If we don't write next, it will stuck over here. It's very important to write next. So now if I save it, and let's try to run the console log over here and print the request object over here. Okay, and I'm going to run the script node index.js. Now let's try to trigger the get nodes API using the postman. So get nodes, this is the API. Let's save this one, and let's send. Now let's go to our terminal, and here you can see that there is a new prop current time, and it has this current time and the date added. So let's say we the benefit of middleware is simple, that you don't need to write this line in every API call. If you need this kind of usually what happens is there is a lot of lines in the middlewares. So putting it in the middleware is actually quite optimized and quite efficient, rather than writing all those lines in every API calls we need to make, right? So let's say that we want to apply this middleware to a particular APIs, not on all the APIs. Okay, so we can give it a starting point. So currently you can see that all the APIs are having API slash nodes, and so currently we don't have enough APIs, but in order to give it some kind of go ahead, that so it is saying apply this middleware to all the APIs which are starting from the slash API. Currently all the routes are starting from API, so it will be applied to all these routes. In major application, when we are building large applications, there can be a lot of stuff like API slash users, API slash folders, API slash permissions, and API slash settings and dashboards and analytics, and a lot of such APIs exist in our application. And this is how we can add a starting point that API slash nodes should be executing this middleware. Okay, so now let's talk about how we can add more than one middleware. So let's say that I'm going to copy this thing and I'm going to create a new function. So I'm going to name it middleware one and this one. And now I'm going to create a second middleware, const middleware 2. Okay, and just like that, I can add a middleware over here. Now middleware one is going to be applied over here like this. Okay, and if we want to apply more than one middlewares, then let's first remove this. We can remove this as well, so we can put it inside an array. Okay, and now I can write middleware 2 over here. So now all the APIs starting from the API slash nodes, they will be having the more than one middleware 1. So what happens is middleware 1 will execute something like this, and then it's going to call the next means that go to the next uh, function, whatever it is. So it is going from middleware 1 to middleware 2. Okay, and then the middleware to request object is going to contain all the properties which were appended in the middleware one because of this next. Okay, this is what we will see just now, and inside it I can have another property, name. Okay, let's write my name, and I'm just going to write my name inside it. Okay, now let's save, and I'm going to copy. I'm going to run the script, and let's run this API again. I can run any API because we are applying it to all the nodes. Now let's go, and now you can see that this current time have this, and this my name also exists. So both the properties are being appended. It means that both the middlewares were applied before calling this API. I'm not calling other APIs because I have not written the console.log yet. This is just for testing, you know. So this is how we can add multiple middlewares. Okay, now let's see that I want to apply, even if these API slash nodes are being added in all the routes, still there is a way to only apply the middlewares to a particular functions, only for delete node, only for create node. So let's try to apply it for the get node by ID, or yeah, get node by ID. So I'm going to call this middleware one. I'm going to comment this line because I don't want to make you confused. And let's come over here and get node by ID. What I can do is I can write the middleware over here and add the comma. So this is the middleware, this is the function. So this means that whenever client try to hit this URL, and there comes a middleware rather than calling this function, and apply this middleware, then there is a next function of this middleware, and next function, whatever it's doing, whether it's updating the request object or it is doing any other thing, it is logging something, then move to the get node by ID. Okay, so this is how we can apply a single middleware or a multiple middlewares as well. We can put it in the array as well. uh, yeah, so middleware too, like this. Okay, so I'm going to add a console log to this add node by ID, and I'm going to write a request. So I'm going to remove it from here. Let's now keep it for now, and let's rerun the server. So it's running. Let's send. Let's go. Now you can see that the get nodes API is not printing anything like this, my name or the current time. Now let's go ahead and try to run this particular API get node by ID. So this one, let's send, let's come back, and now you can see the current time and my name are printed. All right, so now we have understood how to add middlewares, add multiple middlewares, add the starting point of the middlewares, add middlewares to the different separate routes, and to add middlewares to all the routes. When we are building a lot of like big applications, we don't create middlewares directly in this file. It's better to create middlewares in a separate folder structure. So I'm going to create a middlewares folder, and I'm going to create a file. Let's say that I'm going to add some time.js, and inside it I can add this function, this middleware one. Okay, and here, and then in order to export this, I explained this modules in, I think, the my second or third video. So I can export this, and then I can add the middleware one. The name should be meaningful. Currently it's just for elaboration for you guys, so I'm adding this middleware one. So let's save it, and now in order to use it, let's try to use it at the top. And I'm going to write import, uh, well, it should be const and then middleware one. And to get this, let's remove this thing. And to use this, I'm going to write middleware and then the middleware slash time. Okay, now I've removed this middleware 2. Okay, and the both of these middlewares, middleware 1 and middleware 2, are being applied to this API. So now let's try to run this route and see if it works. So this is the get one node send, and now if I see the log, you can see the current time and my name. The current time is coming from the external file, and this middleware 2 is adding this my name Omer. And this is how we can add the middleware from an external file. And this is all about middlewares, and there are some advanced topics about middlewares as well. But let's now talk about one last thing in this video is the third party middlewares. Just like this express.json, there is a third party middleware as well, and one of the most famous middleware is the Morgan help us that helps us to print and logs the data which API is being called. It is very important for error handling. Whenever something goes wrong, you need to add the Morgan middleware. So first of all, I need to install the Morgan middleware. So Morgan, npm install Morgan, so it will be installed. You can see that package.json file should have this Morgan, and now I need to get it at the top. Okay, and now let's try to get the Morgan equals to require and then the Morgan. So it's just one line, and let's try to add this middleware to all the API calls. It's very important that you use this particular package for all the API calls. So let's use, and I'm going to write the Morgan. And for now, I'm going to utilize this for the dev environment. Okay, so uh, okay, fine. So I'm going to save this file, and for now I'm just going to comment this console log just for elaboration what it does. So now let's try to run this script node index.js and go ahead, let's send. And now you can see that it has printed this, what was the method, which API call was made, and whether the API call was successful or not, and what was the how much time it took to send the response. This is for the time milliseconds. And yeah, so if the API calls are being made, it will keep track and log the outputs, and you can keep logging it in a file as well. So it's very important. So that's pretty much it for this video. Make sure you understand the middlewares pretty well, because from now on we'll keep on using the middlewares for the authentication, for further API calls that we are going to be making, right? So now in the next video we are going to be talking about some kind of mounting APIs, mounting routes, and we are going to create the users routes as well, because we need to have the couple of models, like the nodes is one model, user is another model. Then we will be able to better understand how we can architecture or structure or create a different folders in our project in order to optimize the files and folders of our code. So let's now create a users API, as well as talking about what do you mean by the mounting routes. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share your feedback in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching.